In this video, I will show you how to cut glass tile. The reason that I'm making this video is because when I decided to put up glass tile backsplash, I could not find any resources online telling me how to cut glass without chipping, and also how to make a lot of different weird cuts. Just a little background information. The saw I will be using in this video is a Skil 3540. It is less than $100. The blade I am using is a QEP 7-inch glass tile diamond blade. You can get it on Amazon for about $37. The tile I am cutting is 3 by 9 inch subway tile. The first cut that I'm going to show you is a simple cross cut. Whenever you make a cut, make sure you mark the tile and then measure the fence on both sides to make sure that the fence is square with the blade. The first time I tried to do a cross cut on a glass tile, what I noticed was that it was really hard to keep the tile against the fence. Especially when you're doing a cross cut, you don't have a lot of surface area along that left edge, and therefore it's easy for the tile to turn. When the tile turns, becomes unsquare with the blade, it causes the tile to crack and it will actually break all the way through. In order to keep the tile square to the fence, what I realized I needed was more leverage. So what I did is I took 2 quick grip Irwin clamps and I clamped them on the tile right against the fence. This gave me a lot more leverage, allowing me to keep constant pressure on the tile going into the fence, and this kept the tile from turning. The next tip I have is just go very slow. This blade, although it does not cause any chipping, it cannot cut through the material very fast. So if you take it nice and slow and keep a constant even pressure against the fence, you will get through the cut without any chipping or breakage. You can see here how clean the cut is. The glass itself is not chipped, and the color backing is not chipped either. The second cut I'm going to show you is a rip, cutting the tile the long way. Now, the first time I did this, I realized that when I got to the end, the last little corner of the tile would actually chip and break off. In order to solve this issue, after you get your fence in the correct position, flip over the tile and you're actually going to start a cut on the opposite side. After you've started that cut, flip it back to its normal position and proceed with your cut normally. What I have found is if you start the cut on the opposite side, it will prevent that chipping. Now, because we have such a long edge along the fence, it's actually very easy to keep the tile square against the fence. You don't really have to worry about it turning like you do in a cross cut. Again, you want to go very slowly. This saw does take a little time to cut through it. Again, you can see the perfect cut without any chipping. The third cut I'm going to show you is how to cut out a corner of the tile. This can be used for a number of different reasons, mainly to go around outlets or to go around trim or cabinets. Whenever I am doing a cross-cutting motion, I like to use the clamps just to make sure that I can keep the tile square to the blade. One thing that you have to make sure is that you mark your corner very well with a marker, because you're going to need to watch the blade to see when to stop. Now, the blade is curved, which means that it's going to go through the bottom part of the tile farther than the top. So when you're cutting through, you cannot watch the top. You have to actually look through the tile and see how far it is going at the bottom. And you need to make sure you stop when the bottom hits your line. After you have made both cuts on the corner will most likely not be completely off due to the curvature of the blade. There will still be glass at the top part of the tile that is holding it in place. In order to remove this, you will actually need to slide over your fence and lift the guard off of the blade, and you'll have to freehand cut the rest of it. In order to do this, you will take the tile and you will tip it so that it is perpendicular to the blade. Then slowly move the tile into the blade on both of these edges until that chunk falls off. If there's any cleaning up that needs to be done in that corner, you can also freehand move the tile into the blade at a perpendicular angle so that it is a perfect square. And as you can see, that is how you get a perfect corner without any chipping. The fourth cut I'm going to show you is the notch. This is the most difficult cut out of all of the different cuts. You will run into this cut when a tile goes over the top or underneath an outlet. The first cuts we're going to make are similar to the cuts we just made with the corner. You should have the notch marked out in marker. You'll see that there's a left side and a right side. Those are the first two cuts that we are going to make. When you cut this, remember that the blade is curved, and so you want to watch when the bottom of the blade reaches that end line. After the two ends are cut out, you're actually going to move the fence away, and you're going to freehand cut the tile that is left in the middle of the notch about every 1/8 inch. You can do this freehand because it doesn't matter if the tile becomes unsquare with the blade. You actually want it to, because then it will break out the little chunks. After you cut every 1/8 inch, you still need to remove all that material left in the notch. What I like to do is, in between each of the cuts I already made, make another cut, and a lot of times the little pieces will break out, and that makes it go a little quicker. After you have the majority of the material out of the notch, then you will lift up the blade guard and you will hold the tile perpendicular again to the blade, just like we did before, and you will slowly remove all of the extra material to make sure that you have a perfectly square notch cut out. This cut takes a lot of time, and you want to do it slowly to make sure you do a good job. Now, as you can see on the back, I didn't cut it perfectly even all the way across, and that's why you see those little notches. However, this will be covered by an outlet cover, so I'm not too worried about it. The more time you spend on it, the better you can get it to look. So just a recap of this video, the first cut we made was simply a cross cut. Then after that, we did a rip, which is cutting it the long way. The third cut was cutting out a corner, and the fourth cut was cutting out a notch. I hope this video was helpful and you won't go through the pains that I went through to cut glass tile.